Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, Ildikó, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Encorepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
Hello, in today's episode we will talk about the world of lettings with Mike Pogson from Exeter. I've known Mike for about 2 years now. We met at a property networking event in Plymouth, and it just so happened that we sat at the back. Mike had been around property for quite some time by then. He'd been doing many renovations, he managed projects and contracts. One of the most interesting things that I learned about Mike was that he did a hands-on self-build, which I think is super impressive. So at the time we met, back 2 years ago, he was setting up as a rent-to-rent HMO landlord. A little while later he moved into something else, but I will let you hear it from Mike himself. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
along.
you.
How are you this fine morning?
Very good, thank you.
Well, fine. It's a bit drizzly, isn't it? A good old British weather.
It's all right. It's been really sunny lately. So
Yes, that's been lovely. Absolutely
nice
wonderful.
To have a bit of rain. Makes the garden grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you an avid gardener?
Always love it.
Oh,
always,
okay.
Always have been.
Mine is a very, very low maintenance one.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is now, but yeah, always. The rhubarb's growing. It's great.
Oh, cool.
Love it.
I don't actually like rhubarbs.
No, I don't. But I love growing it.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
New business in later life.
Thank you for asking.
And let's jump straight in.
Yeah. Doesn't feel late in life, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Feels early.
So please tell us, what is your most recent business?
I am a property manager and letting agent based in Exeter.
Awesome. And how old were you when you set this business up?
When I set it up, 60.
Wow, you don't
60.
look a day over 49?
50, 60.
So tell us a little bit more.
We started off remotely from home.
Okay.
So just working virtually, which is great because you don't have office costs or anything like that. But now we are in an office, been there for not quite a year. Estate agent friends of ours, right at home estate agents, bought a shop in Pinhoe in Exeter off another estate agent who'd been there for a long time. And they don't do lettings. And we'd always kind of worked a little bit, collaborated a bit together.
With this particular agent, right?
Yes, yeah. And they said, do you want to rent a desk? Yes, I do. So that's a great opportunity. So we'd have a main street presence now on the high street.
That is fantastic.
It's really
so obviously the business had grown to command the high street presence. And have you grown a lot more since then?
Yeah, since then it's been really good. So pretty much all of our landlords come through there. All our new properties come through there. Because we're a new agent, it's really hard to attract landlords because the two types of landlords that we can get really are new to the industry, or people who are local who want to stay local. Really,
right?
You don't. If a landlord's got an agent already, they don't really want to swap. Why would they? If that agent's good, they would just stay
I
with
see.
them.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
And every time a tenant moves, they just stay with the same agent. So we wouldn't want to poach anybody. So we're really looking at new landlords, which is what we've got.
I was going to ask. So how do you attract the new people? Do you send out letters?
They walk into the shop.
How awesome!
Great, and that's how it goes, really. So it's been like that.
What's your colour scheme? What attracts them?
It's the shops on a corner. I keep calling it a shop. It's office, shop, office.
Well, I suppose because it's a ground floor, high street thing, it is probably a shop.
And it's a corner shop, so it's great. And it's by a sort of mini roundabouts in the middle of Pinhoe. People have to stop there, and then they just look at the shop. It's a great location. So people just walk in. That's
fantastic.
It's great.
So do you do much advertising? No. Or literally the shop window is your advertising window?
Yes, it is, yeah. So used to do quite a lot of networking, quite a lot of social media and all that. Should do more of that. I know.
Remember, come to my networking event. Property and Business Network.
Yeah, but that's tricky because I kind of do shift patterns. So I'm up really early in the morning and it's hard to stay up late at night.
I know the feeling.
Hard to stay up in the evening. Yeah, so I used to do a lot of that, but since we've had the shop, that sort of attracts people. And the other part, social networking, social media networking has gone by the wayside a bit too much, really.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because can I say you run this with your wife?
Yes.
Or is she involved in the business?
Yes, she is.
Because I remember when I think you were still at home doing it before you got the office.
Yes.
You two were putting out loads of brilliant little recordings on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we did. And then we stopped. So we were studying at the time then so we were both qualified letting agents.
Right.
So we can stick those letters after our name, Marla, because we're with Arla, which is great. The government probably bring it in at some point that you have to be registered to be an estate agent or a letting agent. So
is it not regulated at the moment?
No, anyone could be one.
Oh, wow, okay.
Have any qualifications whatsoever, you can just become one.
The thing is, though, there are really quite strict regulations about lettings, and they are getting stricter and stricter year on year. I mean, I've only been involved in property for 3 years, and since then, the regulations have tightened up so much. So how do you deal with it?
We've learnt it. There's over 160 laws at the moment. I've got a list of them. It's not quite 170. It's a lot, and you have to keep up with them. And if you don't, the fines are enormous. So really, if you want to be a landlord these days, if you're not a professional landlord, you really need an agent, because it's too hard on your own, really.
So are you saying that landlords who just do the lettings and managing their property themselves, they theoretically but practically, they should know all 160
Yes, they should, because the fines for not getting it right are massive. And the ones coming in with the Renters' Rights Bill and other things that are coming in shortly, we don't know quite when, it's even worse. So for doing simple little slip-ups, it's like 7,500 fines, rising to 40,000 for repeat offenders. It's massive for the smallest little things. And rent repayment orders, if you get it wrong, you may have to pay tenants back 2 years of rents. So you really, really need to get it right. So you either have to be a professional landlord or get an agent to do it. Really.
So professional landlords, would they need to kind of register as a lettings agent?
No, not
what it means to be a professional landlord?
No, what I mean is you take it really seriously as a business, is what I mean. And you familiarise yourself with all the rules and laws. You have to do that.
That's a full-time job in itself.
That's a full-time job.
I suppose this is what you mean. A professional landlord does nothing else but letting their own properties.
Not necessarily nothing else, but knows it as it was a business,
yes.
as if it were a business. And there are lots of those around. We know lots of those in this area.
Okay.
But so in the whole country, so there's about almost 5 million rented properties in the whole country, in the private sector, not the social housing or council, but private. And of those, there are 2 million landlords who run those altogether.
Okay, so there's an average 3 properties.
Sort of, but about 1 million of those have one property, and most of those won't be professionals. A lot of those will be what they call accidental landlords.
Yes.
So you'd maybe there's a couple, they get to know each other and want to move in together. They both own a house.
Yes.
Quite often they'll move into one house and rent the other one out. Now, they won't be professional necessarily. They may be, but probably
Highly
not.
unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Or they might inherit a property. So we've got landlords like that. They've inherited when their parents have died, for example. And they think, well, let's let it out. So the ones that we know have come to us, which is great because we know the laws. But if they didn't and they rent it themselves, the mess they can get in is, that's awful. So those 1 million landlords in the country, they're not professionals.
No.
A lot of others are, but really it's getting harder and harder.
So what do you find? Like you say that now that you've got a shop front, shop window, you actually attract the landlords organically.
Yes.
What kind of landlords walk through your door? Are these the ones with 1 or 2 or maybe 3 properties?
It varies actually, because we've also got ones that do have, one for example has quite a lot of commercial properties in Exeter.
Okay.
And one that we're looking after is a flat within a commercial property. So and it's because we're local.
I think, I increasingly find in these last few years that I try and choose services from my kind of immediate locality whenever possible.
Yeah.
So I see people do that.
For the local economy, and you can go and meet the people, and I prefer it.
It's kind of like when we were selling a refurbishment property, we chose a person who's been selling properties in that particular area of Plymouth for decades.
They know the area.
Knows it like the back of his hand.
Yeah. No, much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wonderful.
So good. It's going good. Going all right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
So how long has it been up and running?
It's been quite a while, a year and a half, about a year and a half.
Altogether? I thought it was longer. I know your launch party was in September, but
I know that's
only a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So tell me, what led you to set up a lettings agency?
Good question. Really, I wanted to do rent-to-rents. So we also do rent-to-rents. I don't know if you know what they are.
Well, just in case people are listening who are not into property, let me just very quickly.
Yeah, we would rent a property from a landlord and then rent it out.
To tenants.
To tenants.
Yes.
As if we were the landlord. So we'd have a different kind of contract with the owner. We'd have like a management agreement.
A commercial contract, isn't it?
Commercial contract. It's not uncommon and it's not illegal, as some people think. For example, Premier Inn, they do rent-to-rent. A lot of their buildings, they rent.
Oh, they don't own the building?
No, they rent
I think
the
where
building.
people go wrong with it, thinking that it's illegal, because as an agent or as a property professional, you don't rent from the landlord on an assured tenancy. You rent it on a commercial
absolutely, you can't
contract,
do it on a short term.
and then you let it out to the tenant on an assured tenancy.
Yes,
so, and obviously a commercial contract is not illegal.
Exactly.
And then it's not subletting either.
It's not subletting, no. So if you rent to a tenant on an AST, it says in the tenancy you can't sublet it. So you can't. That's illegal.
Yeah.
The tenants that we rent to, they can't sublet. But exactly what you said. We're on a commercial, because lots of people try and do rent to rent, and you need to know what you're doing, really.
Yeah.
And so I've had experience in the past working with tenants, working with social housing tenants,
right,
for many years as a project manager and a contract manager for a heat pump manufacturer, and I've installed thousands of heat pumps around the whole country.
Right.
Mainly for housing associations, dealing with tenants. So I've had a lot of experience with them. Know a lot about properties. I bought my first house in 1987, so I've done a lot in property.
Okay.
And tenants. I've been a landlord. I've had tenants. It kind of made sense, really.
So you've been on the other side of it, where you were you an accidental landlord, or did you buy investment property?
I think. Do you know? I can't remember because it was so long ago. It was 1987 in Cardiff, and I bought a house, and all the rooms had meters in them.
Oh wow, I remember then.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I bought it with the intention of renting it, or if I bought it and then I thought, oh look, they've got meters, I could rent these rooms. I can't remember.
Oh, fair enough.
Probably to rent it out, but I don't know. And then there weren't any rules then in those days.
No.
You just put a sign in the corner shop next door. This was in Splot in Cardiff. Saying rooms to rent, and people came.
But never mind rules. We didn't even have computers back then, really.
Didn't have computers.
Certainly not the digital world to advertise.
Phones. Didn't have phones, computers, and it wasn't called an HMO. It was rooms to rent.
Yes.
Great days, and then they paid the mortgage.
Yeah, is that what it was at the time? That particular property, an HMO?
Well, I don't think that term existed then.
No, it didn't exist.
Rooms to rent.
Yeah,
it was just rooms. So,
but it was a shared house anyhow.
It was a shared house. I paid all the bills. Except in their rooms, they paid the electric for their room because they had an electric meter. So they could do what they wanted.
They could put the 50p in.
Put the 50p in. I remember one of them did a runner and stole the money out of there.
Oh my! How did he do that?
He was a young lad. He was a cheeky chap. He was a bit on the edge of being legal all the time, really. And he did a runner. I mean, we got on really well, but he did a runner and stole the money, which was a couple of quid, and his deposit was much, much more than that, which he lost. It wasn't quite
crazy
right.
Things people do.
Crazy. But on the whole, the people I had were all working chaps. They were all men, working locally, living away. Not all of them lived away. And they were just really decent. They'd come and work, hard-working. All they wanted to do was come home, cook dinner, have a bath, go to bed, watch a bit of TV.
And the cycle continues.
Get up the next day, go to work. And they were great tenants, really good. They used to come to me for a lot of advice. It was like an agony aunt with any paperwork. Do you know how to do this?
I know what you mean, yeah.
It was great. I loved it.
So it kind of came back some decades later. You did almost like a full circle.
Yeah, decades later.
Dabbled in property in so many different ways, and then here you are with your lettings agency.
Letting agency, yeah, still dabbling. We've got a house for sale at the moment. In fact, we're selling it, and we want to do a self-build again, which we did in the past. Again, I've done one in the past, and my wife has done one in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Separately. So we want to do one together. Yeah.
My husband wants to do a self-build, although I don't know, because I can't decide. Well, between us, we can't quite decide where we want to live.
Yeah.
I would like some views from the top of a hill.
Same.
But he wants to go
in a valley.
Yeah, in a valley, because it's sort of protected from the wind, or so he thinks anyway.
But less sun. And if you're doing the new build, it'll be really insulated.
But anyway, when you build, so my view on it is that when you build your own house, you've got to find the absolute perfect location.
Yes.
And how on earth do you find a perfect location?
Because if we don't like it after a couple, we can sell it and do another one.
The thing is, though, when you put that level of effort into it,
Yes, yeah, but we
Because it
get bored
is-
after a couple of years. We get bored of being in the same place, really. We do. We've been where we are 5 years now, which is a long time, and we've got such itchy feet.
I can't actually believe I've been in this house where I live for 18 years nearly. I just cannot
Wow.
comprehend that bit of
Wouldn't you want to
information.
move at all then?
I do
Yeah.
now. I really do. It's
Well,
very
move
much.
and build one, and then if you don't like it, you can build another, and the bits you didn't like, you can change that. See, you're not old. You wouldn't be on your own podcast now, are you? Because you're not old enough. 'Cause
Well,
only
you see the-
interview older people, and
Well,
you're not.
the baseline is my own story. Starting a new business over 50. I'm over 50 now. Well,
Right.
I was over
Oh,
50
yeah.
last year.
Were you?
Yeah. So yeah, this whole thing came
Yeah.
from a year ago when I turned 50.
Yeah.
Of starting a new
Yeah, but
business.
you're never too young, are you, to start?
Never too old.
Never, or too old.
But either,
Or too
really, to be
young.
honest. You're never too young to start a business. People
No.
can start a business when they're kids.
Yes.
And you're never too old. So
No.
far, the eldest person I interviewed is 71 and she's absolutely thriving. So
Brilliant.
you are
Brilliant.
a baby compared to her.
I am a baby.
So yes, it's interesting. But yeah,
Yes.
the whole concept where it came from was when at 50, I realized that the end is closer than the beginning was.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing sinister,
Yeah.
nothing
no,
awful about it. It's just a fact of life. And it's like, if I want to do something amazing with my life,
Yeah.
I better do it now.
Go and do it. Yeah. crack
And
on.
here we are.
Yeah, you've still got another 50 years, haven't you? There you go.
Probably 30 plus, maybe 40.
Yes, yeah. That's what I
You
think.
never
too.
know. Yeah, so we could build several houses in that time,
Why
couldn't
not?
we?
Yes, you could.
You've already mentioned that you struggle to stay up in the evening to go to evening networking events because you get up early. So do you have a particular morning routine that gets you up so early to then get on with your work?
No.
So what gets you up so early in the morning?
I get up early because my wife works shifts.
Oh, okay.
So she starts at 3:30. So we get up at 1:45.
Blimey.
If I didn't get up at the same time, we wouldn't see each other.
That's true.
So she's the most important thing. So I get up at the
Yes.
same time. Then I've got all morning till 6.
Until other people
or
start
7
work.
to crack on and just do stuff. It's great.
So your morning routine is literally to get on with your absolute focused work.
Absolutely. Yes, and I work really well then. But I'm also studying bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping. I loved my
I'm
bookkeeping
studying it.
course.
I'm
Mind you, when you love
studying it.
numbers.
So I'm doing exams as well. So I spend a couple of hours every morning doing that as well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to do bookkeeping?
Well, it's a sort of, it's just looking after the future in a way. So I've got another skill that I could always look back on
True.
or turn to. I was an accountant years ago. My first job was an accountant.
Okay.
I'm
So what, you've got-
qualified.
Hang on a minute. So you've got
So-
an accountant qualification.
Yes.
Why are you doing? Mind you, I suppose over the decades things have changed.
Oh, massively. So it's completely irrelevant now. So I was trained as a management accountant. It's not a chartered accountant, a management accountant.
Right.
Like CIMA it is, I think. It was ICMA. Doesn't matter. That was ages ago. So I did a degree in accounts, and then I studied accounts and qualified and became a management accountant.
Okay.
But then I stopped straight away
Mm.
because I saw my bosses who were 20 years older and thought, I don't want to be like that in 20. I don't want to be like that. And I'd bought a house, that one in Cardiff, and it had gone up because it was 1980, mid-80s. It was the end of Myrus, government meddling again. House prices shot up really quickly, and so I sold it and bought a building plot and left
Okay.
accounting. So that was a long time ago, 40 years.
Right.
So now I thought, I need something as I get older and not quite so physically strong to see me through old age if I need it. So I'm studying, and I love studying, and I love numbers. So, yeah. Done 2 exams, just about to sit the third one, got 8 to do.
8 altogether
Mm.
or 8 more?
8 altogether. So yeah, a bit of that in the morning, lots of coffee, and off we go.
I mean,
That's
that
the
in
morning
itself
routine.
sounds. And then do you do something to have a little break? Do you go out for a walk or anything?
Well, yeah, I do actually every morning walk the dog for an hour at least. Hour and a
Well, there you
quarter.
go. There's
Yeah,
your
we've done
physical
that.
morning
Oh
routine.
yeah, we've done that already. So that gets the steps up.
What, does the dog get the walk at 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, a bit later. He's too lazy. Do you want to come for a walk now? And you must be joking, mate. I'm not getting up. No, he wouldn't get up at 2 o'clock.
No.
Maybe 5, 6, but now we go about 6, so it's getting light. It's nice.
It's funny. So my alarm goes at 20 past 5,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been so happy to get up in the light
Yes,
for a number of
it's
weeks, and then of
so-
course we changed the clock, and
Yes,
it's
we're
like
all gone back
getting
again.
up in the dark again. It's
I know,
awful.
I know. But
I've been thinking about starting a global movement about stopping this time clock change, because I genuinely don't think that anyone benefits from it.
No, I
can't think of anything and anyone benefiting from the clock change.
Isn't it for people up in Scotland who get brighter, more light?
It's still the same number of hours in the daylight in the day. It doesn't matter when it is.
Bizarre, isn't it?
I mean, does it matter whether it gets lighter? It only makes a difference for about 2 or 3 weeks, really. So then, does it matter? Does it need to cause all this issue?
You still get up in the dark and go to bed in the dark in the winter.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Rant over.
Rant. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go back to your lettings agency.
Letting agency, yeah.
Double question. What's been the easiest and what's been the hardest in setting up a lettings agency? So let's go with the hard bit first.
Hardest is probably learning all the rules.
All the 160 something of them.
Yes, probably. That is.
But as you already mentioned, there is like a set course, examination, all that kind of stuff.
Arla look after that.
Right.
You might know Phil Spencer, who's on the TV with.
Yes, of course. Like the location. Yeah.
He's the face of Arla.
Okay.
His mission is to make letting agents better qualified.
What does Arla stand for, please?
It's the Association of Residential Letting Agents.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's also a milk marketing board, isn't it?
When you first mentioned it earlier, I thought of milk, indeed.
Yeah, no, it's lettings. So they've got, I can't remember now, 17,000 letting agents have gone through their courses to be qualified. It's just to get them more professional, more qualified.
Yes.
So you don't need to have any
Well, the government kind of wants to go that way, don't they?
They do, and they were, a few years ago, they were trying to introduce something called ROPA, which is a register of professional agents.
Right.
And get them qualified, but it all fell by the wayside. But with the Renters' Rights Bill and what Labour's trying to do now, they're trying to maybe try to reintroduce that.
And put it in place.
I think they should. Really?
To be honest, I probably would be supporting something.
Yeah, there's so many rules, and how can you not be trained in it?
Undoubtedly, there are absolutely millions of very decent landlords.
Yes.
But undoubtedly, it would get rid of the rogue ones.
Yes. Yeah. The rogue ones really bad. They're not many, but what you see on the telly...
Obviously, yeah.
They like
is the 2% that make the limelight.
It is.
And it is
most of them are really, really decent. The ones that I've worked with so far are really, really decent. They're trying to get the house ready for a tenant. They'll spend not any money, but they'll do anything that's wrong. They'll fix it and get it right, make it nice. I worked with one just recently who put new windows in. They had a tenant who was there for 19 years.
Oh, wow.
And when they left, it was a little bit shabby.
I can imagine.
They didn't know whether to sell it or rent it. It was touch and go. In the end, they decided, we'll put some money in and rent it. So they put new windows, new carpets, new windows and doors, carpets, painted everywhere, new radiators. Looks like a new house now.
I mean, okay, the windows are a little bit more than just a cosmetic, but the rest of it sounds fairly cosmetic.
Yeah.
And
they're prepared to put it all in anyway, make it really nice, and there you go. And any little bits that need doing, it's all done.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of landlords that I have worked with. Not rogues by any means at all. But you do see them and hear about them on the press.
Yes. And it is a shame that they kind of put the rest of us in a bad light.
Yeah. And then they try and make rules to counter those bad landlords, which affect everybody else. So like the Renters' Rights Bill's coming in now. Awful, really. Awful. Lots of it I agree with. Some of it's really bad.
The bill is awful.
Yeah,
okay. What are the worst bits that you don't agree with?
ASTs. ASTs were brought in the 1980s by Maggie Thatcher because up to that point, if people rented a house, they had succession rights. So when they died in a rented house, their spouse or their partner would have a lifetime right. And if they weren't, if they didn't have a partner, any of their family relations, any of them, children, aunties, uncles, any family who'd been with them for either a year or 2 years, with two different rules, had a succession right as well.
Yeah, they had to be resident in the property though.
Yes, for a year.
Yeah.
Or two. There were two different ones. And that was it. You couldn't get them out unless they didn't pay the rent or they were antisocial. Then you could. So no private landlord wanted to go into the PRS and buy a house as an investment property and rent out because they'd never get it back. Like literally wouldn't get it back.
But private renting was already in existence back at the time, was it not?
Yes, it was. And there were, in the 1980s, there were roughly 2 million properties in the private rented sector.
Fine.
Conversely, in the social housing and council housing, mainly council then,
Well, of course,
6.8 million as opposed to 2 in the private.
But the reason for that was because after the war, it was the councils, the government who were building properties and housing people.
Yeah, completely. And it was very normal to rent a property for life, and lots of people did do that. But what Maggie wanted to do was get people voting Conservative, so she wanted more home ownership. So she introduced the ASTs and Section 21 to make it more desirable for landlords or investors to buy a property to rent out.
Okay.
So since then, from 1980 to now, at 1920, so 2021-ish, the private rental sector there's 4.8 million. It's gone up 2.8 million. The number of properties.
Yeah.
And the social housing has gone down by the same amount, pretty much. So they've sold off the council houses. So council houses have gone. The people in the council, in social and council.
Well, the right to buy kind of stopped some time ago, though. I know that Maggie Thatcher...
No, it hasn't stopped. It stopped in Wales and Scotland. It's still in existence. They're trying to stop it now. Today, there's 4.8 million in the private rented and 4.2 in the social house, pretty much equal. There's about 9 million altogether rented properties.
Right.
They sort of think that's all right in a way now, I think, because now they're trying to stop landlords going into it again, in a way. It's learning all the laws, really, and making sure you know what they are, because they are complicated. When you work in it day after day after day, it's not complicated. The rules are not complicated. There's so many of them.
Yes.
And the fines and prison sentences for getting it wrong and rent repayment orders that can be demanded of you.
So you as a letting agent, do you find all of this difficult, or you take it in your stride?
I don't feel it. No, it's not difficult. I take it in the stride. And when new laws come along, like the Renters' Rights Bill, we're following that. Again, we're looking at it as it comes. It's all proposals at the moment. It's going through. It's in the House of. It's done the 2 sessions in the House of Commons. It's been to the House of Lords twice, and now it's looking at the amendments section. So we don't know what's going to be the final bit.
You hear so much about it, but at the end of the day, it's not actually been made law yet. So everything is a speculation.
Yes,
how do you deal with that?
Well, you just.
Do you follow it closely, or ignoring it until it becomes law?
Both. So follow it closely, but don't plan for those changes that they've announced, because we don't know if they're going to come in. So we know what they're proposing and what the counter proposals are, and we'll just see what happens. We can't do anything there. So do you remember a few years ago, they wanted EPCs had to be a C.
Yes.
Landlords had to spend up to $3,500 to make the properties a C. But it was years ahead.
Yes.
And some landlords started doing it straight away.
Which is good, actually, because it's benefiting them, it's benefiting the tenants, it's benefiting the property.
Yes.
So
but not everybody did.
No.
And lots of landlords can't afford that. They can't. But then it was postponed. Not indefinitely, but at least for a few years. So
I think what should be happening is that those landlords who can't afford it, they should be planning it now, because it will come into force at some point.
It will come into force. But then again, so with the last one, it was going to, and it didn't. So again, we watch what's going on, but we don't plan for it yet.
Fair enough, but awareness.
I'm a little bit against it, really. It's a bit controversial.
What, the EPC?
Making all the standards go up, because the reason is, I think people should be able to afford a decent property, for sure.
Right.
But I also think there's room for different standards of property.
Okay.
Because some people don't want to spend a lot of money on a decent property. They'd rather spend a lot less money on a lot not such a good property.
You are absolutely right. One little story springs to mind. When I was a housing officer down in Cornwall.
Were you?
I went to visit one of my tenants who I've never heard from. I don't even know why I needed to go and see her. And it was in a little village, in a little row of almost like miners' cottages kind of style. Yeah. And there was one open fireplace in the lounge. Yeah. And that's it. No central heating, no heating in the bedrooms. No. The 3 kids were running around barefoot. Mm-hmm. I was cold just looking at them. But that was the way they were. Yeah. They'd lived there for many years, and she absolutely loved the property with this one open fire, and she wouldn't have it any other way because she was a country girl.
And so it's probably really healthy as well, the fresh air, and as long as they don't have mould or damp, serious health issues within the property, nothing wrong with that at all. But when we were students, way back, in HMO, we didn't have any heating in our house at all. And it was in Wales, it was freezing. And so above the desk, I had one of those heat lamps that you used to have for when farmers do lamp. Had one of those above the desk. So when we were writing, nice warm hands, that was the heating in the house. But the rent was dirt cheap, and we'd
And
rather do that.
Blanket over your knees like grandma.
Very much, and a big coat on. Or we could have spent double the money and gone to student, the big student blocks. So it was a choice to do that.
I was just about to say, so basically giving the different levels.
Really, I think it
gives
should be a choice. But I'm not saying you should provide damp and mouldy houses. I'm not saying that at all.
No.
It should just be a choice. But making everyone go to a C is crazy. There's so many Ds that are really good. Great Nick. Like the one you mentioned is probably not a D at all. Yeah.
No, that would be a complete fail
those have
in
been
today's
banned,
standards.
E's and F's have been banned.
This is the strange thing that was the old council stock that got like with the stock transfer to a housing association.
Yeah.
And even at the time, so this was just, I don't know, probably about 13 years ago. And I was surprised to see that there was a social housing unit in that condition. I mean, if I call it condition, it was just the way that property was, that it was legal and allowed. I have no idea if since then they might have upgraded it. But then again, if I don't quite know how it works in social housing, whether the tenant must agree or whatever to the upgrades, because I know in private renting you can ask the tenant to do upgrades and they can refuse.
Yes, they can, yeah. And that's one of the reasons that why you wouldn't have to get it to a C if the tenant says, so there's a loophole straight away in that law. If the government says you need to make it a C and the tenant says you're not coming in, there's nothing the landlord can do, and that's an exemption. You have to have it in writing.
Yeah. That was the biggest, kind of the craziest thing that my husband said he learned at the landlord accreditation course, that as a landlord, you've got the, you have to maintain, that's a must.
Yes.
But you only have a right to ask the tenant to improve kind of thing. And if the tenant says no, then you can't actually improve the property. No. Certainly not if you want to put up the rent on the back of it.
No, you can't.
So it's really interesting that you sort of almost lose rights to your own property.
You do.
To the favour of the tenant. And I suppose this is where maybe you have a couple of bugbears against the renters' rights bills.
Well, that's the law now, though, that particular issue.
Yeah.
But you always have to remember that it is the tenant's home, so that's their home, and everyone, if they're paying rent, it's their right to have a home, and their right for quiet enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
And so if they don't want people in, they have absolutely every right to say it. Landlord's not so keen if they if they want to come in and check it and stuff, but it is their home in the end.
But then again, the law also says that the landlord has to do regular checkups anyway, because if it's not documented, then if anything happens and he goes to court.
Yeah, you'd have to document that you tried to get in, you were refused. You'd have to prove that had happened.
Yeah.
And it would be okay. If you didn't have that in writing.
Again, all of these regulations. Okay, let's go on to the easy bit. So
yes,
the second part of the question was, what were the easiest bits about setting up a lettings agency? Apparently it's the hardest one.
You can just do it. You can just set it up. You can just say, I'm a letting agent.
So you just register your limited company, or you don't even have to do that, maybe?
Good question. You probably could be a sole trader, I would have thought. I don't know. But yeah, you just say I am.
Come with your branding and put your name out there.
Yes. That's it.
So you mentioned putting our name out there and the branding about, social media is kind of half ruling our lives at the minute.
I know.
You did mention that that's sort of fallen to the
It has,
to the
and
side.
I need to do it. I need to do more.
Why has it fallen to the side?
Because I'm so busy doing stuff, really, other stuff.
Is it the studying as well as the work?
Well, the studying is a little bit. It's a couple of hours a day. It's not much. But then I do other work as well because I've always done other stuff. So it's not the only thing I do.
Okay.
I do other things to earn money as well.
Good old multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams of income.
Classic entrepreneurship.
I do. I know. It's what I'm going to do after this podcast as well. I assemble IKEA furniture.
Brilliant.
Do that because I'm very handy with. I just love making.
Good with a screwdriver.
I love doing IKEA furniture. Lots of people hate it.
Well, I love that as well.
Love it. But I also put together gym equipment, like big gym equipment.
Oh wow! Okay.
Little stuff, treadmills, rowing machines.
What, for people or for gyms?
I work with Fitness Superstore in Exeter.
Okay.
Who are a big shop that sell gym equipment. So when customers want it installed, I'll go and do that. Like
brilliant.
Great big heavy, to do that. So doing that, doing studying, doing letting, there's a lot to do. And then also we've been getting the house ready to sell.
Is it one of your let-out houses?
Our house.
Your own house?
Our house, yeah. Oh, and of course we're doing managing tenants. So HMOs, a lot of work.
So how many tenants have you got now?
I don't know.
You are not the admin department.
But residential tenants on the whole are quite easy to deal with.
Yeah.
That you maybe hear once a month from them about some issue, and we just sort it, get it done, and it's great. And then at the end of the month, we do a report for the landlord. Say this is what's happening.
Is it every month? You do a report?
We do a monthly
that's
report.
Lovely.
Yeah, and remittance advice, a statement of money and stuff.
Yes, of course.
Monthly, yeah. So even if nothing's happened, we'll do a report. And
so go on. I would say what's been the craziest excuse for not paying rent?
Well, I don't know what his excuse was actually. I'm just thinking of this one example. He didn't pay the rent. If people don't pay the rent, I'm on it the next day.
Yes.
Let them go till midnight, and then the next day, you haven't paid. Is there a problem? What?
Yeah.
Can we help? And normally they'll go, oh, sorry, forgotten. They just pay it. But then this one didn't get in touch with. He didn't get back. Didn't get back the next day or the next day.
And then the alarm bells are ringing.
Yes, they are. But he didn't pay, so we had to go to his guarantor. So he was slightly iffy when he came in. When I say slightly iffy, he wasn't. He was slightly iffy. But,
whatever that means. Let's look up in the dictionary what slightly
iffy
means.
He had an expired CCJ. It was expired.
Okay.
It was a while ago. He was a worker. He was a good chap. He seemed great. But we are the agent for the landlord, and they wouldn't want someone even with an expired CCJ unless they could have a guarantor, which he did.
Right, okay.
So he had a guarantor. So when he didn't pay the rent after a couple of days, and he did get in touch, and he said, and he left a message, I can't pay, whatever. Please don't tell the guarantor. So went to the guarantor and said, he hasn't paid. Can you know? And when you have a guarantor, you produce a deed. It's not just a contract, but it's a deed between us. So he has to pay. And
then they can sort it out with the...
They paid up straight away, the guarantor.
Fair enough.
That occasion, and then they sorted it out with him. So fair enough. And then since then, he's paid the next couple of months. Happy. So, but a little bit wary on him. But we've got the guarantor, so that's what they're for.
What I hear from this is that you've got a really good system in place.
Yes, really. Referencing, really crucial. You have to reference them properly. So we use an agency and they reference them, but then we also phone up either previous landlords or job, one or the other. We'll phone and speak to somebody and say, how are they? And they'll, all the ones we phoned have said they're okay so far. So, but we're thorough. You have to be thorough.
Have you been in situations where you had to turn tenants away based on your referencing process?
No, because they would be weeded out. So it sounds harsh. Triaged out before that.
Okay.
So when someone phones up and says, "Oh, I've seen a house or a room," we send them a list of questions.
As long as it's legally okay for you to refuse these certain
Absolutely.
categories, I suppose there's nothing wrong with it.
No, but in the Renters' Rights Bill, there's categories you can't discriminate against anybody.
Yeah.
So
I mean, so why wouldn't you say it if it's all legal?
We wouldn't do anything illegal for sure, but you have to be so careful with what you say and write to tenants.
Yeah.
You can't say anything that can be interpreted as being wrong. So we're very upfront and honest, really. What were we saying about tenants? Oh, so you asked, would we not discriminate, but not choose some tenants?
Yeah.
So some landlords might not want pets, and so we'd be very upfront about that. And most tenants who phone us for a property, 9 out of 10 have got pets. We find.
It is so hard. It's really quite strange in its British culture.
Yeah.
People are generally pet lovers.
Yes.
And people have cats, dogs, and whatever else.
And
yet in the rental sector, it's really frowned upon.
Yeah. Because lots of landlords have had bad experiences of pets. Cats weeing on carpets, dogs ripping up, chewing stuff. You can get insurance against it. But in the Renters' Rights Bill, it's going to be a right. You won't be able to refuse someone with a pet unless you have a really good reason. For example, it's an HMO, and you wouldn't...
people wouldn't normally have a pet in a shared house anyway.
No, but as it stands, they would have a right to have one. You'd have to have a good reason not to. Well, you could say that other people may have an allergy to it in the house. It's not a great thing.
Yeah, probably in a shared house, it's a slightly easier...
But in a non-shared house, a standard residence.
Yeah, because at the moment, it's kind of like in a standard, a short tenancy agreement, it's like there's a paragraph that says tenants have the right to ask.
Yes. And it won't be reasonably refused.
Yes. So it's already in existence, really.
But it's going to be
harder for the landlord to refuse. Yeah. I mean, a little personal story. When I parted with my ex-husband, we had 2 dogs, no children, so we kind of shared the dogs.
Yeah.
It was a fairly simple conversation. I'm taking Vic. I said, of course you are. And that was the agreement. So he took the male dog, I kept the female dog, and that was the way he was.
Yeah.
But
he harsh on the dogs. Maybe.
Well, yes and no. Well,
but at least
because Vic was his dog and Dia was my dog, kind of thing. It felt right for all of us, and the dogs still saw each other a lot afterwards. But anyway, the bottom line is that he really struggled to find a rental place with the dog. As you say, a lot of people do have one, and a lot of landlords don't take any. So, but yeah, the rental rights bill is probably not particularly rewarding for your industry. But what are the very rewarding things?
Oh, that's what you asked. What's wrong with the renters' rights bill? Yeah. Oh, they're going to ban ASTs, so assured short-hold tenancies.
Yeah, we kind of started at
so at the moment, the standard tenancy agreement is an assured short-hold tenancy. And that can be 6 months, it could be 2 weeks if you want, but anything up to 3 years. Standardly, it's 6 months or 12 months.
Yes.
And they said they're going to ban it and just make them periodic, so just month after month after month, to make it more secure.
Why is that good for a tenant?
The government said it's good for tenants because it makes it more secure. I don't know how that makes it more secure. That's like saying black is white. That doesn't make it more secure.
I was going to say, it depends on what the other side is. Like currently, okay, you have to give a tenant a minimum 6 months tenancy.
Well, you don't. You could give 2 weeks. You could. But
with an AST, is it not a minimum 6 months?
No.
Anyway.
But 6 months is very standard, or 12.
While a tenant needs to give 1 month's notice, a landlord needs to give 2 months' notice.
Yes.
So,
and that's after the 6 months.
Yeah. So with the periodic tenancy, but it just renews month after month.
Yes, the tenant gives 2 months, and at the moment they're saying the landlord will need to give either 3 or 4 months.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but they don't. I don't know yet what it's going to be.
It's a speculation.
All sorts of speculation.
To be honest, whether it's an AST or a periodic technically makes no difference. It's the sub rules of how much notice each party needs to give.
I don't know why they say it'll make it more secure for tenants. Make it easier for them to leave. That if they decide after a month they're going to move job or something, it's easier for them to move.
And the thing is, actually, if it's a periodic tenancy, technically there's like a month notice in advance. In a way, anyway. So why would they make it a rule that the tenant needs to give 2 months' notice when it doesn't actually apply? That the tenancy agreement nature, by being periodic, overrules then in a way.
Don't know until it happens. I don't know.
True.
I think that at one point they said if within the first 6 months or within the first year they'd have to give 2 months.
Okay, and then after that it's just a month. So see what happens.
We'll see what happens, but because it's going to be longer for the landlord, whichever way it goes.
But then, and any other thing, like if they don't pay rent or they are causing antisocial behaviour and so on and so on. If they breach any condition of their tenancy, then the landlord just can act upon it anyway.
But
so
you have to take them to court when the renters' rights bill come in. Right now, with an AST, you can give a Section 21 notice. You don't need to put a reason on it.
Well, but this is the thing. So if somebody has rent arrears, you give them the appropriate notice, not a Section 21 notice.
Yes, you do.
And then the tenant then needs to sort themselves out. They need to pay
they do, but if they don't go,
then it goes to court.
It goes to court. So now or if you issued the Section 21, you don't go to court.
The thing is, though, that's even now it's unfair to give the tenant a Section 21 notice when they owe rent. Legally, do you not have to use the right ground?
No, because the Section 21, you don't need a ground.
Well, I know, but isn't it immoral to serve a tenant a Section 21 notice when they owe rent when there are grounds for rent arrears?
I don't think it's immoral. I can't see that it's immoral. It's just a quicker way, because with a Section 8, you'd have to go to court. But with a Section 21, you don't have to go to court unless they don't go.
Yeah.
You can just issue a Section 21. You can just write it out and say, there you go.
I must admit, I'm a lot more familiar with the social housing application of these. I mean, same grounds, but slightly different in social housing. Yeah. Okay.
So there won't be a Section 21's going. It's an easy way to get rid of people, but the possession of your property.
That's horrible. Because I really hate that phrase, getting rid of tenants.
Because in the press,
how bad they are.
All the time now in the press you hear about no-fault evictions. And it's like landlords are horrible. They're evicting me for no reason. But with an AST, the only way you can legally ask someone to leave after the contract's finished, when the contract ends like 6 months or 12 months, it doesn't just stop and that's the tenant goes bye-bye.
Well, it kind of becomes a periodic tenancy anyway.
Yes,
it's just it fixes the first 6 months.
Yes, it does, but it doesn't end at 6 months. So you have to, the only way to end it, the only way a landlord can end it is by issuing a Section 21.
Right, because
So they'll say to the
theoretically, when somebody receives an AST for 6 months,
Yes.
and then it becomes periodic, effectively you actually give a 6 months notice, but you also need to attach that notice to it, do you not? Or kind of, if you want someone to move out after 6 months.
You have to,
Yeah.
And you can't do it for the first 4 months of it. So you've got to give them that bit of paper. So it's not a no-fault eviction. It's just the legal method of regaining possession of your property. That's what a Section 20
Yeah.
is. But it can also be used.
Like it's more like a no reason.
It is no reason. And it would be so easy to put a line on.
Yeah.
Because most landlords won't get rid of tenants for no reason. If they're paying their rent and they're behaving.
Unless they want to sell or move back in.
Unless there's valid reason. Exactly.
Theoretically, that's what the Section 21 notice is for anyway. And this is what this is the point I'm trying to prove, that there are grounds for everything else anyway.
Yes, there are.
And the Section 21 is just there for the landlord to take possession of their property if they need to sell or move back.
You're right. That is why it was created.
Yeah.
And because it is the notice to get.
So effectively, it got misused then.
I don't think that's.
I think if it's used for rent arrears, it is misused.
Do you?
I do.
I don't. Because all it's doing is saying, you haven't paid your rent, I'm going to ask you to go. I mean, it doesn't matter what bit of paper it is, in my mind. They've been antisocial, they haven't paid their rent. It's time to go, and that's a valid way to ask them to go.
That's what it just speeds up the landlord's
it does
process. Okay.
The other way, going through Section 8, because the courts are in such a mess now, they're just not fit for purpose.
Again, when I used to go to court with either Grand 8 or just Grand 10 or 11, it would take sort of 4 months to get a court date back in London.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea what it would be right now.
Same, more.
Okay.
Yeah.
From what I kind of hear, like how bad it is, I would have expected it's kind of in excess of 6 months.
Yes, easily.
But mind you, if someone doesn't pay rent, that's really detrimental for a landlord because they still need to pay the mortgage.
Completely. So they're not getting paid before the court hearing, and then when the court hearing happens, it's so easy to be thrown out if you get any of the paperwork. A letting agent.
I was going to say, so talk a little bit more about your systems to completely prevent these sort of things happening.
We have systems in place at the beginning. So when we start a tenancy, all the paperwork's done.
Yeah.
All of it. And then we just have all the dates listed.
You do as much
expiry dates of all the different. When they come up, 2 months, 1 month, we make sure we get those.
Well, specifically about the tenants, you do as much due diligence as it's absolutely possible at the beginning to make sure that you only take on good tenants.
Yes. And then we make the houses as nice as we can. We've got one right now. I just picked up a rug before this that I bought.
A what, sorry?
A rug.
So rug. I thought you said rugby. And what's rugby got to do with the price of bread?
In one of our properties, an HMO, someone's left. And so we're redoing the room. It's time. Gives us a chance to refurbish it.
Yeah.
We repaint it. Carpet's fine, so give it a really good clean. And then take all the old furniture out and put loads of new furniture. So and pictures and mirrors. Just make it really look nice.
Homely, yes.
Homely. So we're in the process of doing that right now. So as well as making sure we get the right tenant, we want to make the home, really.
In your experience, is there a parallel line between the nicer you make the room or the house look and feel, the better the tenants look after it?
Yes, I think
is it really quite noticeable?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we don't do students, so we just haven't come across that yet. So I couldn't say about students, but yeah, we do find that for sure. Yeah. Also, we need to say with HMOs, keep on top of them. If they're making a mess in the kitchen, we keep on top of it. So even if it's their home and they can treat it how they want, we do want them to keep it tidy.
Yeah,
because for the other tenants. So
absolutely,
you have to be on it, but on it all the time.
It's a bit of a compound effect, isn't it? The compound effect works both ways. Do you have a role model?
Oh, that's a good question.
In your life, who inspires you to be an entrepreneur?
That's a great question.
I don't know. For some people, it's their parent.
Yeah.
It could even be your partner.
Yeah. Partner's great. Love my partner.
Because by the sound of it, you've actually been an entrepreneur pretty much all your life.
A long time.
One way or another.
Yes, I suppose since selling chewing gum at primary school.
There you go. God, you started your first business as a child.
Yes. That was great. Gosh, that was a long time ago. That was in Cornwall. Local sweet shop was shutting down. Everything was for sale. Buy loads of chewing gum for a penny a packet.
And then you sold it at school.
Great.
So you are an entrepreneur through and through?
Maybe. Yes, probably. Well, always been self-employed on the whole. Not always, but on the whole. Have quite a big stint of working, 15 years or so for other people. But on the whole, self-employed.
So who was your
Love
role
it.
model back when you were young to be self-employed, or you just had this little streak in you?
When I was very young, I really don't know, because it wasn't my parents at all. They weren't entrepreneurial. I have no idea where that came from then.
But then it just fueled you for the rest of your life.
Question, wasn't it? I think becoming self-reliant happened at about 18-ish, I think, probably,
Okay.
from a farmer that I knew and his family, and got to know them a bit, and seeing the life that they led and how they did stuff. Being farmers, it was in Devon, nothing was a problem. And they did whatever they wanted to do. If they wanted to do something, they'd do it. They'd make it happen.
Okay,
in
so
whatever way.
potentially they were
It
your
was great.
early age role models.
They were. So even though I was a late teen by that stage, that stayed with me really. I think that was quite a good learning. That was a great school, actually. Thinking about it.
How brilliant. So how did you come about these people?
It was a partner of mine at the time. Their parents,
Right, okay.
pig farmers.
Who are the best people in your power team?
I guess I don't have a
You
power
are,
team.
but you
Like
must
a
have.
solicitor and an architect. I don't have those people that I would go to. We do have a solicitors that we would use. Gilbert and Stevens, prefer those.
I was the accountant, but you are doing
Do my own
you're doing your
accounts.
bookkeeping.
Do my own accounts, yes. Solicitors, yeah.
Is that a good idea? Good use of time to do your accounts?
It's fun.
So what are the things that you like to outsource?
I don't outsource anything. But
Well,
I
you go and
should.
do the cleaning.
No, I outsource cleaning.
Well, there you go.
She's great. So we've got one cleaner who does the HMOs.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good value. Yeah, we do outsource other stuff. So if there's building work on any of the properties, we, although I'm very handy, it's quite good to be a property manager and be handy, because if a tenant calls with a problem, we'll go there, I'll go there, and if we can sort it out, great. Or I can
I
see what the
suppose
problem is.
Occasionally,
Assess
all
it.
it takes is a screwdriver.
Absolutely, and I can assess it, see
Yeah.
what it is, and if I can do it there and then, I'll do it. But other than that, I'll get somebody in to do it. Builders, plumbers, electricians, whoever. We use several different people. Don't just
Right.
have one of each, but we use the same people.
So for a lettings agent, who are the most important members of the power team?
Oh, so we could call them a power team, couldn't we? I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone,
Yeah, so really it is maintenance people.
maintenance,
Well,
right?
Maintenance, cleaning, that sort of thing. People that you can call on quickly, that will get there quickly. Because with it, if a tenant's got a problem, we really want to get it sorted out that day, or we'll go there that day. We won't let it dawdle.
Yeah.
Not like some councils with the... Sorry.
I never worked for a council.
I'm not going... No, I didn't mean you. I meant... Some properties get so bad, but that's why we jump on it. So if a tenant has a problem, we'll jump on it and go and sort it out. What was one very recently? Just the knob on their cooker didn't work anymore.
Okay.
So we went around to have a look. Said, no, it doesn't. I bought one on eBay.
I suppose you don't need to call maintenance
In
and
that
pay
case,
silly
no.
amounts of money for
But
them.
for the tenant, it didn't work, was a problem, and then it got sorted.
But it's also very good for the landlord then, because if
Yes.
you call down a maintenance person, then you would need
Yes.
to bill the landlord for it.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
if you are able to do it within your own remit, a 5-minute job,
I don't charge them.
then you
charge
don't separately charge.
them.
Yeah,
We don't
you
charge, no.
cover it in your agent's
Yeah,
fees.
yeah.
So you
Agents'
are a very
fees-
good letting agent, aren't you?
Agents' fees 11% of the monthly rent, and we don't charge extra for doing things like that. If there was a lot to do, like a project, perhaps we would.
I was going to ask, so if your agency was to grow, and obviously you are taking on more landlords, you're taking on more tenants,
Yes.
how are you going to cope with that? Or are you going to drop your other, like the IKEA furniture fitting
We'll have to
kind of
see-
hours?
We have to work out what's making money and what's not,
Mm.
and go from there, really. I would get other people in to help, for sure. But really, when it can afford to do it, it can't really afford to do that at the moment. The company can't.
Right.
So we'd wait until it could. At the moment, it's, I can cope quite
Because
a
I
bit.
imagine you are growing the
If we-
business.
Yeah, we are. And if we took on more HMOs, that's where it would,
The-
it would
the
get
work will-
quite heavy, workload quite quickly, really, because we need to go to HMOs once a week
To
check them, to do fire checks at the minimum.
Is that once a week? I
once
thought
a
it was
week.
once a month.
Depends on the property. The ones that we've got, they would be 3 stories. It depends
right,
on the
I see what you
fire
mean, yeah.
system, the control panel. It's got to be done weekly. Have to do that. So we.
Is this something you could outsource to your cleaners?
Yes,
Or would
you
they need
could,
to
but
be-
I don't mind doing it, to be honest, at the moment, because at least I can go there. I know the cleaners like your ears and eyes.
Yes.
Even though she is, I prefer to go as well. Show a presence. It's great.
Yeah.
Keep on top of things. But as it grows, I won't be able to do that. So
I was going to say, so you as a person, so you own your company, you currently love doing it and you're quite happy to be a hands-on lettings agent. But as the business grows, how do you envisage removing yourself from it? Because physically you're not going to have enough time in the day.
We'll just get people in to do it. That's easy enough. I'll try and resist having employees as much as I can, really, and just subcontract things to people.
Yeah.
For example, like fire checks. We could get one of the tenants to do it weekly. As long as they did it, we trained them, they knew what to do. It's simple, and then they signed the book, because there's a book there. We could do that. If it was someone I could trust and they were trained, don't see anything wrong with that.
Have you done it in any of your properties yet?
No.
To pick a lead tenant to do this?
No, not yet. We find quite a high-ish turnover in HMOs-ish. And the ones that don't turn over wouldn't really want them to be doing that. So you'd need somebody that you could trust to do it. So that would be an option. Or the cleaner could do it and pay them extra.
Yeah.
To do that. Doesn't take long. It just has to be done and recorded.
So why are you resisting to employ a member of staff to do this?
I don't need to yet, to be honest.
You're still on that page where you love doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But as it gets bigger and I can't, I won't.
Fair enough.
Right now, I'll keep doing that. And then the normal tenant rentals, again, as it gets bigger, I will employ other people, but we'll do it on a temporary basis, so self-contractors. I wouldn't employ someone full-time.
Well, not necessarily full-time, but you could have somebody to work for you in the agency to sit at the desk and do all these things, to do the visits, and that could be 2 days a week.
Again, visits, we could do visits. We could. But I'm going to resist employing anyone as long as possible. I've managed people before, like quite a lot of people, and it's a hard part of business, dealing with people.
That's actually probably quite true.
Yeah. And when it's your own business, it's quite expensive.
I'm just sort of thinking what's going through my mind right this moment is what the news that I was listening to in the car on the way here to the studio, that the national insurance increase is coming in over the weekend, which kind of times this recording to early April. And how a number of large companies have announced that they're going to increase prices and lay people off and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Take people on,
Yeah, so, when there is change, there is always a bit of hardship for everybody. And then, of course, there'll be a period of time to get used to it.
It'll settle down.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound great for business growth, like Mrs. Reeves says.
Well,
we'll see. People said it about the minimum wage when it came in, didn't they?
Yeah, change is something that happens.
Yeah.
The only thing that's
get used to it.
Certain, and then it will take a period of time to get used to it, and then businesses will adjust. But I suppose, so when you are almost a one person, so it's you and your wife. Does your wife get involved in it?
Very little. She doesn't need to yet. So she would be the first person
that would come on board as an employee.
Really? Yes. Yeah.
But then how does it work out when you both bog down in the same business with all the nitty-gritty everyday stuff of going to do the inspections, the tightening up the screw or changing that light bulb?
It depends how much work we get. If it's too much, we'd outsource it. So we'd outsource those kind of jobs to maintenance people for a start.
So how do you see
people we use now anyway? So we would just begin to outsource more.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you see your business grow?
It'd be nice to grow really big.
Would you like to be a leading letting agent in Exeter?
Yes, that would be great. We have a long way to go, but that would be great. Yeah, and we could buy another agency. That's a good way to do that.
Oh, okay.
So we might look into that.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. If anyone wants to sell a letting agency, we are up for buying it.
So are you now kind of, because you've mentioned HMOs quite a lot through the conversation, are you now kind of specialising in HMOs?
I would love to do more. Yeah, no, we don't. We do. Yeah, I'd like to do a lot more HMOs.
Okay.
Yeah, we do them. They're more work. That is great. I enjoy it.
It's interesting because some people are just a complete no-go to shared houses.
Yeah.
But some people absolutely love them.
Yeah.
So what's your love about them?
I think it's probably the problems.
So you are a problem solver.
Yes, very much. So it's really nice to get, because with the HMOs, sometimes they go down a little and you need to bring them back up, and it's just great to be able to do it. Solve the problems, sort it, get everyone like a cohesive household together,
Yeah.
working
Do
together.
you do things like, when you are advertising an HMO room, do you assess people on, I don't know, how good is your people assessment skill?
Yeah.
Do you try and match people into their household kind of energy?
Yeah, we do, for sure.
How do you do that?
Just by knowing people, really. But what we're starting to do, and we're going to do it on the next one, we haven't done it yet, is get the existing tenants to be more involved in that process as well.
In what ways? Would you ask them to find someone?
No, we've got people interested. So we've got a room now that we're doing up. We're going to be showing it next week.
Okay.
Final carpet's coming on Monday, I think. So then we'll be showing. So we've got a few people lined up already.
Okay.
We'll get the tenants to come and meet them as well. So we'll try and get all the
so do you do
together.
bulk viewing?
We're going to, but not at the same time, but very quickly after each other. So
okay.
We're going to try and do it a weekend so that more of the tenants who live there will be at home and they can meet them at the same time. It's too hard to arrange it afterwards. Say we choose one or two and then have a night meeting or something. We can't do that. But we'll get the existing tenants involved just to meet them.
Yeah, because then they can have a bit of rapport building straight away.
Yeah, and then get their feedback. Don't want that person there, maybe, whatever.
It's interesting to sort of make up your mind on someone on literally first impressions.
Yes.
I would be really scared of that because I tend to, I think maybe
misjudge. The benefit of the doubt.
Misjudge is perhaps the wrong word, but I generally find in my life that I meet someone and however I assess them at the first meeting, they kind of turn out to be the opposite as time goes on.
Oh.
Either way.
Do
so if I really like somebody, then I really fall out of love with them
and
a while later. And when I really don't like someone, I grow to them over time. But that's just me. But yeah, so if I was living in a shared house, I would be really wary of making up ideas or sort of opinions about somebody.
I don't think we've been wrong yet,
That's fair enough.
Because, you can I can sort of tell people.
How about bulk viewing? So if you invited, let's say, 4 or 5 prospective tenants.
We've never done that, and I wouldn't do it all at, say, at 12 o'clock. I would do them at 15-minute spaces.
But wouldn't it be easier to just invite everybody in, tell them all about the property, your agency, the whatever, they all meet, have a little party almost, and then one by one they can go off to have a look at the room and look around the house.
That's interesting.
And then...
Well, you might have solved it then, because the reason I wouldn't do a bulk viewing is you can't get the one-to-one with somebody and learn a bit about them that they might not want to disclose in front of other people or that you can't pick up. If they're all milling about, you can't really find out about that person. But if we had a little gathering,
you let them...
then did them one at a time.
Let them be in the lounge all together.
That might work.
And then you are in the room. You can actually invite the tenant into the room and you have the one-to-one with them.
Might do that.
While the group... There you go. Something to test.
I think we'll do that. Thank you.
No problem.
That's great. Let's do that. Can you remind me later because I'll forget it. I bought something off eBay the other day and I paid on eBay and then we went there and paid them in cash.
And they took the money off you?
Yes. They had because they hadn't received it yet. And when you pay on eBay...
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it takes a... Oh, yes, of course, it takes a while.
Yeah. That's how...
Anyway.
Write it down.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. So obviously you've talked a lot about that you really like to be involved in the everyday running of your business. But what are the things that are energizing you the most?
Oh, in the business?
In the business.
Anything?
Well, or in life, yeah. Let's start with the business.
Oh, we ask such hard questions. What energizes me most about business? I think, everything really. Just being alive is energizing.
That's true.
Just getting up. I made it through another night. That's fantastic. I'm quite an optimistic kind of person.
Obviously, yeah.
And it's more like what would get me down, really.
Okay, so what gets you down?
Well, not much.
And what is that little?
What's the little bit that gets me down? What gets me down?
Tenant phones up. Do you get all excited?
No, I wouldn't get excited. I just, no.
Do you get nervous?
No, I don't get nervous. I'm quite patient, quite laid back, very factual, so if they call me, I'll just,
what's up?
What do you want? And whatever it is, we'll sort it out. It's just not a problem, but it's kind of fun.
So what are the tasks of the day where you walk away and think, oh, that was absolutely brilliant?
Oh, when I do IKEA furniture. Love it.
That's not even your lettings agency.
I know. No, do you know, really, I like building. I love building and creating stuff. So whatever it is, I just love building. So we're always building like extension. We've done an extension.
Yeah.
I love it. Very, very hands-on, all of it. But even a room, like the latest HMO room that we're refurbing, love it. Just
that is
creating.
just a wonderful, absolutely beautiful
It's
process,
great.
isn't it?
Love it.
To refurbish, even if it's just a room or a whole house.
It's great.
But no wonder you want to build your own house again.
Yeah, it's just creating, and that's
And
great. Love it.
With building, do you actually want to be involved in the building work as well, kind of thing? Or
In my whole life before, I've done all of it, like everything. But it would be nicer to employ people to do the things, because as you get older, it does get a bit harder. So if you do a full day of
the
manual
recovery is considerably more.
We had to swap our shower for a bath so I could have a hot soak. We didn't. It was to sell the house, but it's such a difference. When you've done a hard day's work, it's great to have a soak. But yeah, it's just getting harder to do more physical stuff. So we would get other people.
And enjoy as it's coming to life.
Yeah, love it.
So a year and a half ago, when you set up your lettings agency,
Yes.
what gave you that aha moment that now is the right time to do it?
Well, I wanted to do rent to rents. That's what I really wanted to do. And they perform better than ordinary lettings by far. Sort of the return on an HMO is sort of worth 10 houses. Maybe.
So instead of just doing
It's what I
kind of
really
just
want.
directly going to landlords doing rent to rent,
Well, now
why did you end up with the lettings agency?
because it would be a great place to meet landlords.
So that you realised that by setting up a letting agency, people would actually finally come to you rather than you needing to chase them.
Yes, partly. Well, hoping that would happen. But also, it's just to become more of an expert in the area and be seen to be an expert in the area and to do things properly and to attract the right kind of landlords, really.
Yeah.
And
So
do a good job, 'cause that's what we want to do.
When you initially set out to be a rent-to-rent agent, did you realise at the time, or had you already started looking into all these rules and regulations?
No, I'd say no, not to start with. At the very beginning, we thought, what a great idea. Rent property and then rent it out. That sounds great. Then
it's a fantastic property strategy, and then you realise that
very quickly you think, hang on,
nothing
there's a lot of rules.
is as simple as that.
No. And yet it is. But you need to know all the rules. You do need to know all the rules.
So you're happy that you've gone down this route?
Yeah, really.
That
it's
you
great.
progressed onto
it's
this
good.
one?
It's very good.
So we've gone through quite a few benefits and challenges of the business. One thing we haven't quite covered was, do you feel that you've got a bit of a technology gap? Because some of us sort of of the slightly older generation, although, I don't know, we kind of grew up with it.
Yes.
And obviously using it all the time, but still, how do you find the technology?
Love it. I love technology.
Okay.
I love it. When we grew up, there wasn't any technology. Not everyone had a phone. Our first TV was a black and white TV.
Yeah, I remember that time.
Yeah.
You're 10 years older than me, so
yes.
I had my first mobile phone when I was about 23, 24.
Yeah.
What about you?
About that age, people had big bricks, and it was either businessmen in pinstripe suits or criminals, gangsters. I've got a big phone. And it was amazing. And their car phones, which were plugged into the car, they were part of the car. They didn't last long, did they? When mobiles came out.
Yeah.
But it just changes so quickly. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So how do you use it? Well, apart from the obvious that you run your tenancies on there in a computer system and stuff, but
so we use
what do you love about it so much?
It's just so useful, isn't it? And now ChatGPT and AI, really good and really bad. That's quite scary, but it's also really handy.
And you need something really quick.
Where it's going. And robots. Love robots.
Again, building things, isn't it?
It's building things.
So how are you going to utilize a robot in your future business?
I would love to build houses and use robots to do the labour force. Imagine that. It'd be great. Can you do that roof? Great, wouldn't it? Work all night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could probably make them silent now.
I love the idea. It's very scary when you think of Terminator and iRobot and all that. But on the other hand, it's so useful. Just another machine, isn't it, really? Or is it a lot more than that?
So do you think that robots would ever take away your job? Or AI?
They'll take away so many jobs, won't they?
Well...
So many.
I'm not the most interesting thing I've heard about it is that AI and robots will not replace people as such, but it will businesses will certainly go out of business if they don't embrace it.
Yeah, very much. Really. It's like if a business doesn't embrace the internet. some businesses can do that.
Yeah, they just went down the pen, didn't they?
Yeah, most can't.
Back at the time, and now same with AI.
You've just got to keep up. Look at Kodak. 40 years ago, if you took a film, you bought a Kodak film.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know, 100%, 99% of films were Kodak, weren't they? No.
Well, they didn't. I think they are one of those companies. It rings a bell from. I heard it somewhere.
Yes, they don't. You haven't heard.
They
them
didn't
now.
quite go.
They didn't go digital at all, and now they've
with it, and they've kind of gone out of business.
Yeah, you've got to keep up. You have to keep up. That's really exciting. Change. I love change. Just disruption. Quite like it.
You're a very quiet, disruptive entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
nice
That's good. That's good.
Nice. I don't like things just being the same. Although we have systems to make things the same, it's always good to throw things up. Not like Trump's done now with his tariffs. What?
I am going to shut that
There's
team
gotta
back down straight away.
There's got to be some agenda behind that, for sure.
Well, he's a businessman. I think
he knows nothing about economics, does he? Or
politics.
And he's doing.
Well, anyway, no,
don't go.
No, this is not a political podcast.
No.
This is a business podcast.
Yes.
So, kind of my final question, I think, it is: how do you find your time? So, you expressed that you actually, because of your wife's work, you run a back to front life anyway, and then you've got multiple jobs. How do you find your work-life balance, your time management, or your self-management to utilize your time well?
Interesting. So, I don't really agree with work-life balance. I just think it's life. Really.
Yeah.
And so, but the most important thing is spending time with my wife.
Yeah.
Like every day. If we work together all day, every day, it'd be fantastic. But we don't. But we do spend as much time as we can together. So that's my balance.
Are you looking forward to a time when you will do? Because we've kind of touched on it, that when the business grows, she'll be the first one to be employed by the business next to you.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to times like that?
Yes, sure. It'd be nice when she doesn't have to or want to work shifts. It'd be nice to kind of get back to a more
daytime life.
Yes, it would be.
Is it strenuous to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, it's not strenuous at all. You just adapt to it. But then we're in bed at 6, so we miss out on anything that goes on after 6. We spend time doing little day trips. So she'll have a couple of days off every couple of weeks, and we'll spend a day going out for a trip somewhere. So we have a day off once a couple of weeks. Nice, somewhere nice. So that's our balance.
But it's really lovely that you happily make that sacrifice to yourself.
Yeah.
In order to spend time with her.
Oh, yeah, but who wouldn't? If they could. I mean, if I had a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
So lucky.
So is that the beauty of self-employment, where you can manage your time entirely to your benefit?
Yes, totally. That's probably one of the best things about it, to be honest. Because I have worked for employers. Again, it wasn't the 9-to-5, actually. Like being a project manager, I was off and about all around the country. And my time was my own again, really. I wasn't.
Yeah, but if you were traveling around the country, then you didn't really have family time.
No, it's not good. It was that was before I met my wife. Then, so I wouldn't do that now. No chance. No. So yeah, being your own boss, your time's your own, and you prioritize what you want.
Do you ever feel like you've swapped the 9-to-5 to a 24/7?
Yes.
It's a little crazy, but.
Great.
Any regrets for not setting this business up any earlier in your life?
Oh, no, because I've done loads of other stuff as well. No regrets in my life at all.
Fair enough. That sounds pretty good.
Well, everything's kind of led to here.
And you obviously love it, which is brilliant.
I love it.
Would you consider setting up another business?
Yes, I am now. Bookkeeping business.
All right. So what, you're going to be offering your services as a bookkeeper?
Absolutely, yes.
Blimey, I didn't realise. I thought you're just doing it for you.
No, I can do my own. I'll do it.
You're going to be...
I can do it for other people too. But
installing...
yes.
IKEA furniture.
That's a hobby.
Yeah, but you earn money from it.
Yes. Well,
what was the other thing?
I get more than I do doing the lettings from that. But that is a hobby.
What was the other thing you mentioned that you do as well?
Oh, gym equipment.
Install gym equipment. Then you run your letting agency and growing your letting agency.
And growing it.
And now studying to be a bookkeeper to offer bookkeeping services.
Yes, and I'll offer that. But then I will quickly expand that and get people doing it for me. I'll employ bookkeepers.
Oh, okay, so
that subcontract the work to them, but I need to know what's going on.
Yes, of course, of course. Because then you will.
Because have you heard about making tax digital for?
Yes.
Accounts?
Yes.
So from next year it starts. People are going to have to not just do self-assessment forms once a year. You have to do it every quarter and once a year. So
but the thing is, the way everything goes, that you are putting all your receipts and everything digitally onto your account, and then it all happens through the systems now.
Yeah.
Do
you use systems yourself, like Xero or something like that?
Not yet, no. But with my new business, the Entrepreneurs Club, I will do.
Right, so you'll do your own. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
we'll do that for people who can't do it, like loads of contractors, tradespeople.
Either don't have the time or just simply not very technologically minded.
Yeah.
Something we didn't really touch on, and I suppose it's not something to go into particularly deep, but you're obviously studying, so you're reading books that fit your studying, but do you otherwise read or listen to any books that are business development or self-development that you would happily recommend to other listeners?
Yeah, actually, maybe not books, but podcasts.
Yeah, go on.
Listen to a lot of podcasts. So what's he called? James Sinclair, business podcast.
Okay.
Absolute favourite podcast. Steven Bartlett, of course, but James Sinclair, so good. But also Samuel Leeds.
Oh, he's quite energetic, isn't he?
I love Samuel Leeds. I listen to his podcast too.
Okay.
So Samuel Leeds, James Sinclair, Steven Bartlett.
And of course,
yours.
Of course, New Business in Later Life.
Love that podcast.
On that bombshell, there's one last question.
I'm not going to watch this episode.
Is there anybody you can think of, or you would like me to interview, or you would like to see in the hot seat, who started a new business over 50?
You know, I don't think she's old enough, but Claire, probably not old enough. I think she's in her 40s.
Well, I can ask her.
Ask her, Claire, right at home estate agents. Claire Lack.
Oh, an estate agent rather than a letting agent.
She's the estate agent where I'm a letting agent in the same office. She set that up 2 years ago. She's done fantastically. She employs 6 people, I think, and she's selling hundreds of houses.
Fair enough. Well, we can ask her.
Phenomenal.
See if she's old enough for my
for
my podcast.
Sorry, Claire, I don't think you might. You're probably not old enough. You're not old enough. Can't be 50 yet. Must be. She's in her 40s, I'm sure.
Oh well, she's a baby then.
Can't ask her. But someone like that would be great.
Mike, you've been a great guest.
You've been a great host.
I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Lovely.
And I hope that the listeners have enjoyed our little rant about Renters' Rights Bill and rattling on about tenancy agreement. Thank you so much for coming along.
If anyone wants to know any more about letting, just happy to talk for sure.
Oh yeah, just for the record, Heartland
Residential
Lettings.
In Pinho in Exeter.
There you go.
Always happy to help.
But all the contact details will be in the show notes.
Okay,
thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
A big thank you to Mike for sharing his journey and experience with us. I hope Mike's story has inspired you. And whether you are considering a new property management or any other business venture in later life, remember it's never too late to start something new. A house builder at 25, a heating engineer at 35, a project manager at 45, and now letting agent at 60. Mike says, bring on 70. Here at New Business in Later Life, we believe in the power of your experience and potential. If you are interested in Mike's services at Heartland Residential Letting, please check the show notes for details. Thank you.